You did not get that one on time. You are hosed.
And we're live. We're not talking about Klingons. Leave
Or
them out
the
of your hands.
planets.
Anyway. So hopefully, I think a lot of people did catch that we changed it an hour earlier from yesterday. So anyway, I'm having internet issues. So if I jump in and out, Michael's got it.
I do have it, and I promise to talk about all the love that Craig has for Marines, for Army people, and Marines for how much they admire the fact that the Air Force gets to sleep in apartments and comfort and everything.
I'll tell you that geez, I'm going to say like the last 8 years of my Marine Corps career, I was either on Air Force bases or at an embassy. So Marines are treated very, very well in those locations. So yes, I got to be a Marine, and got to live like the Air Force people. So it was the best of all the worlds. Yes. Craig Martelle. It's Saturday. Craig Martelle coming to you live from the subarctic. It's
green out in the back.
It's still light out. It's been, but we're getting close. We're getting close. I think we're at like 60-some days straight of daylight. So I think in a couple of weeks we'll finally see some limited darkness. I think
it's really. I would like to mention, because we have someone very particular to the Klingon and the stories behind the Klingons. If you happen to be in our chat right now, Lawrence M. Schoen, a gentleman really connected to the Klingon language, which Lawrence, if you want to mention what that is in the comments right there, that would be fantastic. But actually, I wanted to get with him anyway about some other things. Probably not appropriate right now. So we're going to talk about something very relevant. And by the way, I was harassing Craig about having green stuff up in the subarctic. I have green out my window, and I'm in a desert. So whatever. So green is the color for today. But what I'd like to ask you about is Amazon has released a new ad accounting effort. They went live with it this week. Do you know what I'm talking about, sir?
They're including page reads on the ads dashboard.
Yes, and first blush was not really sure how accurate this is, but let's give them time. You know, the fact that they did it in the first place, I applaud Amazon for that, trying to give us some idea of how are our ads applying to the pages that we read. Any information, you know that we will start going to crystal balls. We will start putting dead chickens into vats of boiling Pepsi. Whatever it takes for us to read the tea leaves and figure out how are our ads affecting our KENP. But that is live. So that is my little item of what we weren't going to talk about today, and yet I wanted to mention today.
It's taken a long time to get where they're even included. I mean, the borrows would be nice because then you can see the number of borrows, because page reads are a lagging indicator, because people borrow a book and they don't immediately start reading it. So you have that lagging indicator. And when they first rolled it out, I looked at it and said, holy crap, I need to cancel all my ads because I'm not making any money in KU. But they had only backdated the data a few days, and it wasn't showing everything. And if you look at it as a lagging indicator, then the numbers may have not been present, but give it time. Give it a couple weeks, because 9 to 12 days from what you've seen with running a promotion before you actually start seeing those page reads lift up from targeting and selling a KU book to a KU audience. So you look at it that way. It's like, okay, well, we need to pass the end of the month into August before we're going to finally see how is this really resonating, interpolating, trying to guesstimate how many people actually borrowed your book, but then are actually reading it. And this is the key indicator, because people could borrow your book all day long, drive it way up in ranks, but if they don't read it, then you make money. And 20 books at $50K is a retirement plan, but you kind of need to make money. Otherwise, your retirement plan is going to be, let's say, less than stellar.
I'm like, you're trying to, or you're rhyming all of these words. I'm like, all right, now we have the new Amazon ads rap god.
Oh, nice.
So we'll give you a new heading.
Series.
Yes, we are losing you. We're losing you a little bit, so you might want to pause just a minute to be able to let your connect vision. your video is locked. So I don't know if you want to drop that and do anything related to that. But today we're going to talk about series and the different aspects of it. And host has joined the podcast again. How excellent. There we are. Yeah, don't do that. God knows. No. That is not a visual I need to see.
Yes. Buff my head. Talk about series. Let me go back to where we started. And let's see if hopefully this the internet stays connected for a while. Let me pause my Dropbox because that's trying to sync now.
Your Dropbox is trying.
Pause. Oh yeah, I've got a massive file, a travel book that was 90 megs, and for me, 90 megs is extremely huge, massively huge, awesomely huge. So it took me over an hour this morning. So let's not have that syncing. yeah.
That would not be good. So related to series, I mean, this is a subject that you and I have taken on multiple times in the last few years. But this morning when you were discussing it, you were adding aspects of it, or at least you were giving us a shopping list of ingredients that you wanted to discuss. I don't know that we'll get through all of them. If it's anything like we've done in the past, you get to about 3 or 4, and then you click on one of them, and then it gets stuck right there. So which part of series would you like to start with first?
Let's talk about series, because it starts with, you have to have your premise, you have to write your book, you have to write the series of stories that fall within your premise. So if you write one book and it's successful and you're like, hey, let me make it a series, you probably need to have already worked that in where you have an overarching and want to write these stories. So you have your plot and then subplots at each book. And one thing that you've always put out was that each book needs to be self-contained in that it starts on a thing, there's a conflict, it gets resolved, and everybody goes away happy at the end. So they stand alone, so people are happy. And if you have a cliffhanger, well, then your target of whale readers, people who read a lot of books, they're going to be looking for that next book. So then you kind of put yourself into a bind in having to deliver that next book more quickly. But if you write it and you end it happily, even though there's still the main arc that isn't satisfied, it's still the series. So if you build that in from the start, then you're much better off. I think we talked about this last week about ending them at 3 books, vice 4 or 8 books. You know, when do you pull the trigger on ending a series? The whole thing comes about to the beginning of, it's easier to sell 10 books to one person than it is one book to 10 different people, because your marketing campaign, marketing to that one person, is much easier than marketing to all these different people all the time. The really successful authors, the big sellers, they touch all those noses, and if they have a series, then it multiplies your income. So this is one of the main benefits of writing in a series, and I do think we need to talk about that, and as well as the additional revenue generated from box sets and things like that.
Okay.
Let's start with, why would you write in a series?
For myself, I wrote in a series because as a reader, I wouldn't touch books that had less than 3 to 4 books out already. Once again, I'm a whale reader. I'm going to read a lot. If you're going to engage me as a reader with characters that I care about, which is, you know, my preference, not action, that I prefer characters with action, then I'm going to want to see a lot of information. I would go with one large book. If it's a 200,000 word book, okay, I'll sign up for that. But too many times the books in the 60, 70, 80,000 range, I don't care. I'm going to wait. And so I wanted to see more books. So for me, writing a series was what I wanted. I was my own marketing group of one. And going forward, it allowed me to create characters that, you know, I came back to over and over again. So that's the reason I did it. Now, what happened, of course, for it is that in writing quickly and releasing quickly and getting those books out, once again, the comment that I made a second ago, I wanted to see 3 to 4 books. Even though I had advertising knowledge at the first time that I did this, I didn't start advertising until I had 3 books out. So I kind of followed my own advice. I wrote quickly, not because of any other reason than I needed to get to the point where I could advertise, because I wanted to see if the series was going to work, right? Because I was totally willing to shut down the Arthurian Gambit and try something else. That was my intent.
Yeah.
I was willing to try, find, die or live, and die or live until I found something that was going to work. So that is why I did a series. I think since that happened, Craig, just our experience with people around the world, other reasons for doing it have surfaced. What are some of them that you're aware of?
Other reasons are when you've written characters that people like, they want to see more of those characters, and they're willing to buy that next book. And that pre-order or commit to buy the next book is intoxicating because it's money in the bank. Whether you do a pre-order or whether you just get commitments, whether you get a lot of reviews, whether you get a lot of private messages from people saying, man, I love those characters. I can't wait to see what happens next. So you look at that and you say, from a business model perspective, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Well, let me write that second book then, because then I've already got this core readership. So I know I can get my back on day one. I mean, that is hugely a huge weight off your shoulders when you write a book and hey, I know it's going to earn out first day, cover your expenses, and then everything after that is gravy. And then they'll be jonesing for the next characters, and it's something. It's easier to get into the mind space of, I created this world, let me keep adding to this world, as opposed to creating a whole new world. Mm-hmm. And I know some people like that, but you look at Dune. Dune is continuing to go on, and Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert just signed a new contract for 3 new Dune books, which is the first new contract in 5 years. So the Duke of Caladan comes out, I think, in October. But looking at that series going on and on, because it just sold so well and has been lucrative for the publisher. Yet another movie coming, who knows when. It was supposed to be released in December. But all of these good things that come from people wanting to get more embroiled in that world. So because you look at it, just there's so many examples out there from series that have been successful, starting with the old pulp days of Arthur Conan Doyle and Edgar Rice Burroughs. Mm-hmm. Pulp, and then you have Jules Verne, who wrote one-offs with great stories. But it was that era, people were still looking for Jules Verne was the series name, and not really looking for books in that series. So easier to sell more books to a reader you already have on board, and you can build that foundation instead of having to rebuild a foundation with each new book.
Right, and so
I don't even remember what the question was.
No, I was like, huh. The question was related to what are some of the other reasons for writing series other than what I had stipulated, and some of them could very well just be from the author viewpoint. I have too big of a story. I mean, isn't that the whole reason for J.R.R. Tolkien's book? How did I flub this one? The Lord of the Rings. The whole story behind The Lord of the Rings was he had written one book, and they couldn't do that, so they broke it up into 3 books. At least that's my understanding of how that one, that historically went about. So it was an opportunity where you wrote a long story. I mean, we talk about some of the biggest books right now are like epic fantasy. Those books, don't start until 80,000 or more. Yeah. And so, it's an interesting aspect. So, I'm looking at doing some sword and sorcery stuff just for larks. And I looked at that and went, yeah, sword and sorcery, I'm not doing epic. It's like, no, I feel like the mega books we've been doing for the last year plus have been enough epic for me.
Yep. Yeah, because there's just so much book there, so much story, so many details to carry through and follow over 180,000 words. Like in when I rewrote the Monster Case Files. Yes, it's a cozy mystery kind of approach. But that 250,000 words, oh my God. I mean, that took 100% of my effort for a week straight, and I already had the words, but it flowed well towards the end. And it's like, oh my God, I don't want to do this again with 250,000 words. So of course, right after that, I wrote a book that was 135,000 words long.
But it wasn't 250,000.
The 250,000. once you're in that space of this world, it just makes it easier to write. And the 60, 70,000 word books, they add up well for a box set at a later point in time, which from a marketing perspective goes to an additional revenue stream. So series, people want to learn more about the characters. I'm a big fan of Star Trek, the original series. The characters are the ones that carried the story day after day, week after week. John Truby talks about everything has to be character driven, the plot driven, special effects driven. He's seen those movies come and go, but the ones that stay around are character driven. You look at something like Avatar, okay, all kinds of award winning, made billions of dollars, and it was cartoony in how it was done. You look at CGI, but it's still the characters. You care about what they're doing and how they're relating to other creatures and people. So when you write those characters, people naturally want to learn more about them, get into them, learn some backstory, and series allows you to do that. So if you've already spent all of that headspace creating these characters, yeah, why not enjoy it and show the world more about them?
So it took us approximately 3 seconds to get people asking specific series questions, but let's go ahead and answer some of them. What are your takes on good read-through rates from book 1 to book 2 and book 2 to book 3 and further on? This one's relatively straightforward to answer. And the answer is you can actually mathematically take a look on like a spreadsheet. If you put in book 1 and you say 100%, and Craig mentioned this or mentioned it before the start, you're never going to get more than 100% of readership in a series except in the first book, unless something really strange has happened. And then so from there, you put a digit, like let's say 0.7. That you'll get 0.7 readers from book 1 to book 2. So for every book 1, you get 0.7 credit of book 2, right? And then you might put something like 0.9 with next to 3. And so out of that 0.7 from book 2, you multiply it by 0.9, and now book 3, you get 0.63. So for every book 1 you get 1 plus 7 plus 6.3. So you have a total of, what the hell is that? What the hell is it? 2.33? Yeah, I think it's 2.33 books. You've written 3, but you know that for every, if these averages average out for you, then you're going to get 2.33 book credits or dollars or KU, probably more on the KU side, credits for that. You can find that the law of diminishing returns kicks in pretty significantly. I saw something at the very beginning of my career where I believe, and I never found it since, that read-through from book 1 to book 2 in Trad Pub Arena was 0.63, was the kind of the go. At that time, I was doing about 0.75, 0.78 on Arthurian Gambit. I've heard and seen people who've gotten up into 0.8, 0.9 read-through between book 1 and book 2, but I find that rare. And then I've seen people still make money with down in 0.5. But at 0.5, I would recommend everybody go back to that book, find out what's wrong, fix it. Because that first book 1 to book 2 is where generally you lose almost the biggest amount of your readership unless you kill a main character. Even if you happen to do that at book 9 in a series, you will find a substantial drop in readership. Just suggesting.
Just because somebody said that once.
Yes.
But 0.63. Understand that's if your chance of a read through goes up if you're selling book 1 at full price. If you drop book 1 to say $2.99, you're still going to be okay. When you drop it to do promotions of 99 cents, people will buy it. But this is where your read through is going to reduce. The calculations will reduce because people buy a lot of 99-cent books and they don't always get to them. But if somebody bought your book at full price, the chance of them actually opening the first page and starting to read are really high. So, and then if you do free, 63% goes completely out the window, and it goes down to 10%, down to maybe 2%. Yes. On free books, I'm thinking if I can get 2% going through to the book 2, that's a win. Because it's free, yes, you pay to promote it, but if you have a long series, then if they go to book 2, then you may actually get up 90 percentile for books 3 and beyond. Yeah. And now you add all those numbers up, and all of a sudden, my 9-book series, I just ended a week of my book 1 9-book series being free, gave away 5,500 copies over the week. I mean, it did really well. It got up into the top 100, stayed top 100 for the whole week because I had the promotions spread out, and it got good visibility, good downloads. I'm already seeing read through and buy through. Somebody bought the whole set of individual books, even though I had changed the back matter on book 1 to say, hey, if you like this book, here's the whole complete collection in a single book. And people still went through and bought the individual books. People are buying and reading the complete set in one book, which is what I was really trying to drive traffic to. Buy that complete set at like $6.99. Okay, not bad. That works. And that also solves the read-through issue. If they pick it up, they got it. And then if they do read it, they'll eventually read. There's a spin-off that's a follow-on series. And also there's all the different Craig Martelle series. I think I'm up to 20 series now. I added 3 new ones this last week because that's what I do. The read-through rate, I shoot for 50%. I think percent is good. And now, book 2 to book 3, that's where you really need to see that good read-through, 80 to 90%. Down at 50% from 2 to 3. Now, if you sell book 1, that only you sell that second book. That accounts for like 1 full sale of book 1, and then if it goes lower to book 3, your profitability drops rather significantly quickly.
Okay. We actually have some good statistical people, Erica Everest and Jim Kaplan. I bet if we asked the two of them.
Mal Cooper has been studying this one very, very well for a long time.
Yeah, well, the challenge, the reason I reached or thought of Erica and Jim versus like Mal Cooper and Brian Meeks is because both of them are in the business. And I'd be curious to find 2 high statistical analysis people and ask them, we could query the questions such as price, read-through, length of series, and just find what are the statistical best curves, just the best curves, and where it goes. That would be my guess. That would be a fantastic question to ask them. I wish I'd asked.
I think that would be a significant challenge because the one thing that can't change is the quality of the story. So this is you may see a big drop off at certain books. So it would only be apples to apples with a single author who has 100 out or one that might have 20 series out. What is that read-through rate that is good, and how can you identify early where you've gone off track? And like you said, hey, you go back to book 1 and you may tweak it up. There may be issues that are fixable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's I can't go off on more tangents. So related to that, I think that my question, I might have to pause it to those 2 and ask them, because I think the question is only best fit. You bring up the aspect that, this could be best fit per genre, best fit for whatever. Some genres really don't lend themselves too well to series, or series that are complete connected universe type series versus, say, mysteries where you have a series, but each book is individual, and you could read book 1, book 7, book 3, book 12. Agatha Christie comes to mind, something, those types of series. Okay, so Lawrence's question related to any thoughts of keeping a series fresh by creating spin-offs from a successful series, with these spin-offs being series unto themselves. Oh, we have plenty of answers on this one. You want to start?
Yes, we do. I've done a follow-on series that it needed to stand alone, and that's what I tried to make it do, because I marketed it differently, and also it was a different genre. I went from space adventure to pure space opera and kind of a military sci-fi slant. So it was a different audience, different covers, look at the covers. But I did get the readers of the one series to move on to that series, as well as gain a whole new readership based on the second series. So from that perspective, yes. With Terry Henry Walton, the follow-on series did very well. The spin-off series is actually doing better than one spin-off series is doing better than a couple others, because we spun off 3 or 4 different series once they went to space after the Terry Henry Walton Chronicles. we did 4 or 5 different series. So you're not going to get that same traction with all of them. And when you do get the traction, the good point is the traction will come from something that can probably stand alone and serves as a unique entry point into the series. So this is what Mal Cooper does. He has this 30,000. She has this 30,000-year timeline, and you can enter all different places. There's a trilogy here, a quadrilogy here, and so enter and then read the rest of her books over here, over there. It's still within the same universe. And with the Age of Expansion, it's this universe, but this the spin-off, the Executioner series, is doing very, very well all on its own. Kind of as a standalone, we add some of the old characters in because we want to keep the readers engaged, because it's me writing it, so I can't write 2 books at the same time in that universe. I write one and then write the next and write another. So to keep the fans on board with multiple series, I touch on those things. So yes, however, you need to be able to pull the plug quickly, and we've had some series that did not resonate and pulled the plug after 3 books because we kind of promised the readers you're going to get 3 books, because some don't pick them up until that 3rd book is out. So you have to look at it. You have to look at it from a business mind and not be so in love with the universe that, hey, I'm just going to keep writing spin-offs even if they're not profitable, and that's then understand it's a passion project and no longer a business. And I think I know I'm in the business to make money. I like to keep my fans happy, but if a series isn't earning, and I've ended a number of them, ended them with a final book that ended the story arc, because I'm not going to leave them hanging, just saying, hey, you're not buying a book, screw you, I'm going to leave you hanging. I haven't done that. We've ended all the books, all the series, and then explored more those series that were doing well, and gave them more. Here's the fans. Here's more. Here's a short story. Here's a snippet. Here's good covers. All that stuff that keeps it alive. So there's no answer to your question. It's a business decision. You have to look at, is it resonating, and if it is, well then. And also from an artist perspective, a spin-off gives you the ability to look at it fresh, as opposed to the same characters coming back, trying to think of something new and exciting, and make that work.
So a couple of other things to add to this is, in general, this, it's one of those hashtag properties. In general, the sub-series do not ever meet the same sales as the original that got everything started, right? So it would be incredibly rare to do that. Now, you could conceivably do that if you switch genres from a very popular selling book or book series in a genre that doesn't have a large audience over to a series that doesn't necessarily sell well for the genre. But if the genre is so much bigger, then you probably could actually sell more, just because you somewhat separated them. Arthurian Gambit gave rise to Oricerion. What I learned in Arthurian Gambit, I applied to Oricerion, where you had the ability to build either science fiction or urban fantasy or fantasy. That was part of the design of when I built that universe and structured the way that it worked. So, you can do it, just be careful with doing it. Fans seem to either like to follow particular characters that really resonated, and they want to know more. So Post-Apocalyptic had a fan base whenever Arthurian Gambit was running and Craig took over Terry Henry, but Post-Apocalyptic wasn't.
And before it was reality, when it was still escape fiction and not reality. So
yeah. It became nonfiction. Are you doing beer? So you can get people to follow. Yeah, you can get people to follow characters into another genre that they normally would not read. They'll follow characters. They don't follow, but otherwise they like to stay in their lanes and their genres that they're really comfortable with. We have taken tests and chances where we have series like the Liv Beaufont series, and then the spinoff to is the S. Beaufont series, and we changed the covers. We went with a completely different style between the 2 series to try to make sure we differentiated it, and in order to see if we could capture an audience, because our belief is and I think our belief still is, that if we're doing the first series, and that series of people who've read it all the way to the end are die hard, they're willing to follow this. They either love the world, they love the characters, they by now love the author. And so we chose to change the cover style to something that looked a lot more art, like more drawn, than with the Espofont series, going after a little bit younger audience. And so, did we do as well? Questions up in the air, quite frankly, about that. We're still trying to figure that out. Mind you, this is still a series that gets an orange tag every time a book releases, and we're on book 7 releasing. So it's obviously not doing bad. And so it's interesting related to that. What are we doing? How are we coming apart with all of that? So there's value in it. You have a built-in awareness of your product when you do spinoffs, and you get to target fresh areas. The biggest opportunity, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I was agreeing.
So I would just say the biggest opportunity from that is, how are you targeting new people in your sub-series? Don't presume that the benefit is going to be just those coming from the first one.
Yeah, you don't want to lock yourself into the mindset of a subset that I have to. I mean, I think the Age of Expansion, the follow-on to the Terry Henry Walton Chronicles, really did well on its own when I stopped the mindset of, hey, you have to read these first 11 books in this other series first, and then you're going to come over here and you're going to love it. No, read this book. And we did a lot to sell that first book in The Bad Company, which was, in essence, a completely new series. It had a lot of backstory. And we ended with the back matter says, and if you like this and you want to read more about Terry Henry's background, well, here's now 11 books that you really should buy. The benefit of the series is also, as you go on and as you realize your success, is the opportunity for more success from a marketing perspective. We've seen this with box sets, and the box sets are easier to sell because you can put, hey, here's 5 books for $9.99 even. Hey, it's less than $2 a book. Or sometimes we'll roll a sale and do 99 cents for a box set in order to drive algorithms, drive the visibility on Amazon, improve the also bots, and then change the price back up to $4.99, $9.99, whatever the your readership will bear. And then you advertise the hell out of it. And all of a sudden, hey, look at this. This box set is now a whole new earnings curve for my series. The box set on my Free Trader series made more. It is the leading money earner of that series, which has been out for almost 5 years now and has made a lot of money. But this box set, it's only been out for a year now, has made about that much money in a year, as opposed to the first 4 years with the individual books. So and this is the opportunity, and you can advertise that box set, and then it helps if you have other series. But if you don't, you can advertise the first book, which I do, and I advertise the box set. And the reader, people looking for those things, are looking for different things. The readers who are looking for a complete box set they're the binge watchers, they're the whale readers, they're those folks who want a lot of material. So, hey, if I like it, I can read through. I've got, there's 500,000 words. How can you go wrong? And
500,000.
There's other people who that I read the first page and then put it down because it sucked. So always make sure your first page is great, and actually then all the other pages beyond it, great. That's your standard, and great according to the readers, and the readers vote with their money, and they're the ones that matter.
Money and time,
judge our
willingness to read you.
That's and they vote with their money, and once they've read that, they'll leave a review. And then they'll jump on, hey, what other books should be? You get personal emails saying, hey, I just read this series, loved it. What do you recommend next? And answer those emails. Don't leave a fan email hanging. So answer them. Say, hey, this is a follow-on to this series. But if you want something new that is also cats who treat people like shit, I've got 4 more series like that. Because that's a constant in the entire universe. It's not just Earth. So understand, cats are going to treat people badly. everywhere in the universe, no matter where. They're there. Humans necessarily
really
aren't.
nice cats. And didn't sell.
Yeah, no.
Benevolent cat.
No, cats.
Cats. Okay.
Everybody's all universal intelligence are servants to cats. So anyway, once you accept that premise, then yeah, you can get a lot of sales. So different entry points I like. The box sets as a different marketing strategy and opportunity. If you're in KU, you get those page reads. If you're not, well, then you get a sale of a whole box set. You can market to people who are looking for a binge. And that is growing now, thanks to Netflix, thanks to streaming videos, where you can watch the whole season in one day if you want. Well, here's a book. Hey, look at this. Sit down, read, especially with no new movies, no new shows coming this fall because nothing got recorded. Then, hey, how about a good read? Sit down, relax, don't rewatch stuff, but get a new thrill. Get that dopamine hit and get excited freshly from getting your imagination tweaked. So it comes back to you really have to write a good book, but the premise, you want to leave people feeling good. You want them with characters that they can relate to. So this is what you can build on. You build on that strong foundation. If people aren't reading your first book, now the challenge is don't write a second or third book because people won't read that either. You can't sell the sequel to a bad first book. Probably.
Yeah, probably. So the question, and this might have been tongue-in-cheek, I'll answer it as if it's kind of mostly not tongue-in-cheek. But cool idea for the last book in the series. Halfway through the book, the author shows up and tells the character, sorry, you're not earning out, and executes them. The end. Credit me if you use this. Well, you're a Facebook user, so easy enough. Facebook user says. So, yes, that would be quite humorous, but a really good way to piss off fans forevermore and get a lot of negative marketing would actually be to kill your main character in a series. I don't know how many times I've run across comments on fans going, yeah, I wouldn't read another one of them because he killed the main character in book 6. And then book 6, when it comes out, the reviews are, oh my God, he killed the main character. And now everyone knows the end of your story. Sure, if you're going to do it, you'd better do it for art reasons, because from a monetary standpoint, it's a very high risk, low return option. Now we go to Steve Curry. Do partial book sets work? For instance, I wrote the full series in trilogies with a definite end, but the same character is on the next trilogy. So would it be wrong to market each trilogy as a set? No, it's not wrong to do it. The question would, like we've done, let's say that what you're talking about is 9 books, 3 trilogies of 3. We would typically release 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on the collaborator that we're working with. If you're some collaborators, when 4 comes out, they'll put out a trilogy for the first 3. When you're Craig, when book 8 comes out, he'll put out the first trilogy for the first 3. So then you'll end up with 3 trilogies at some amount of time. We've even tested it simultaneously. And so I like it. He had to die for a second, so I get to say everything about Craig. So then at the end of 9, you have 3 trilogies. Then you have the ability to create one complete, use that word, complete, box set, and market that one. And then, of course, you have the new series that goes on. You have an ad at the end of the book 9, the 3rd set of 3 trilogies, the big box set trilogy. What I found, like with Cartherian Gambit, is 21 books. We've tested the 3 books. We've tested 7 books. You really can't do much more beyond that, because don't forget about the 3,000-page KU maximum that you get credit. So if you stick together 9,000 pages, you're still going to get 3,000 pages of credit. So you have to look at it from that direction and make sure that you don't you don't screw yourself in the process of doing this. But in general, we have kind of stuck with the 7 book and dropped the 3 books. So if you have, let's say, 12 books, and you could do 3s, you could do 4s, you start muddying the waters when you don't give people definitive opportunities. At the time that you get to a full box set, you might consider dropping your trilogies, just pausing them, don't sell them, only give them either singles or your full one. And so hopefully that gives you some answer. Okay, so one gentleman, hey, Daniel. Do you think these experiences analysis models apply to sci-fi and or fantasy, or could they apply to thrillers and romance? Okay, so thrillers is an interesting one because we have a little bit of thriller experience, and I mean I don't know how you say it in Spanish, poquita, really tiny amount. And the answer so far is okay. Really, it'd be great if we had Mark Dawson to ask and see if he has the experience on this one. Another person I could ask is also over in England, but I haven't spoken to him in a little while. Danny's back. No more lies. And so related to romance, however, I think the romance genre probably built a superset of information related to box sets and everything else, probably starting 7 years ago. So there's probably all sorts of information related to romance on how to do it for box sets. And yes, fantasy and sci-fi work real well. Okay, you're back.
Did you answer any of these other questions?
I think I did. I did the Facebook user. Haha. Experiences analysis mostly apply to sci-fi and fantasy. Promo on box sets, specifically try getting new readers. Oh, so here's one I didn't do. I'm running a promo on a box set right now, specifically to try gaining new readers for other books in the same genre and world. Box sets. Is this a box set of other books? I'm not sure how to clarify that question. How do you read that one? And yes, by the way, are box set readers different from individual book readers? It is a whole new audience. It is a Venn diagram audience where you have people that only read singles, people who only do box sets, and then people who cross. And what we found is it's significantly large enough that you do want to do box sets, and you will suffer a little bit of hurt, but it's worth it. Our experience.
And if you're in KU, I talked with one of the fans yesterday, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to do a reread." And I said, "Well, why don't you reread via the box set in KU vice the individual books, so he can check that out and reread it, and then the authors get paid fresh." So that's also that opportunity. So part of that overlap. If you're going to do a reread, even though you own all the individual books, grab the box set and read it that way. And that helps out the authors. It's not gaming anything because they're going to read the book, and that's a new publication. So it's allowed, it's real. And there's enough of a difference, like Michael said. You just advertise box sets, looking for other box sets. You hit those ASINs of other box sets and target the hell out of those. And then in your genre, and then the individual books, you target the genre readers, the style readers, and bring them on board. So to gain readers, to answer the question, the box set, we've done that a lot. We have a box set of like a subset of the books, 9-book series. Here's the first 3 books. We'll run that. But this is where it's important to have the back matter after that 4th book in that box set. Say, now we don't have the next box set, but you can read book 5 because you can always, on ebooks, you can always update your back matter. And then they can dive in and continue with the series. So it works very well. If you've written good stories, they will look for the other material and they want the fix right now. And that's the thing with the binge world of today. When people want their fix, you've got to be ready to deliver that fix. And that fix is right in your back matter. So right after the end, oh shit, wow, I got to read more. Oh hey, it's available, just not in a new box set. So they'll dive over and grab the $4.99 single book as opposed to the 99-cent box set that they had picked up on a promotion.
Yeah, a couple of clarifications. You were specifically answering a question from a reader who asked you about getting paid. I don't know that I would suggest at all globally telling people, hey, go read these different books, or promoting it as that way. And I do not know how Amazon feels about this, but you will piss off a bunch of authors. Just be aware of that. It's one of those things. I'll answer the question if readers ask me, but I do not globally put out there and tell people, hey, now we have this box set, go read this so that, we get, I don't do that. And I don't, as far as I know, you don't do either.
And no, this was a private email, but this is also we're talking world here, and that's nothing unethical. I know that it counts as a new book from Amazon, and we're not gaming the system. Maybe at some point in time they won't count it as a new book for Kindle Unlimited, and then that's fine too. It's like, hey, here's a book. Read our books. This is the big thing is you want to keep people reading your material, because if they read your material, then they'll come back and look for other work that you've done.
Right. So we answered that question. Do we have new questions? So why wait until the individual books stop selling to release the box set? Why not as soon as the last book is out? That is a little bit little bit of a personal decision. Myself, I'll typically only wait as long as it takes for us to get the promos lined up. Like, in other words, the last book is out. We might wait 30 days, but we also recognize that when you go out to a bunch of the 99-cent newsletters that we're going to have to buy, they might be 4, 6, 8 weeks out. And so you have to plan those. So that's why we would, in quote, wait. But Craig, I think you have a different methodology and a different mindset related to this, if I'm not mistaken.
Not really. Wait. Over the course of the year, you're going to have furries come and go. Wait long enough.
I don't understand.
That
you're going to have to stop.
like,
yeah, so join back in, please, and then we'll give that question to you again, because I heard that was a humorous answer that I didn't understand one word. So if you'll try that again, sir, that would be It was the Army's fault.
I wasn't even. I can't believe I have a hair that's hanging down my eyes. It's really weird.
Yeah, you might have to read. Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, exactly. Great advice, Craig. If we only could understand it, I'm sure it was fantastic. So, but there are many different reasons. Some people are going to wait a year. Some people, it's interesting to me over the last 5 years, watching individuals who stipulate, I will never, and just insert here whatever I will never be, right? I will never be might be something related to pricing. It might be related to creating omnibuses. It might be, but the longer they're in the game, which is somewhat of what this is, the longer they're in the game, the more things they try, and the less precious those first books are. And it could be a level of just emotional investment because they're so close to the books. Once you get far enough out and you're selling a lot of babies, then you might be willing to test more things, to do more things. So, you know, just recognize that some people have answers and opinions about this that have nothing to do with the business and everything to do with the emotions tied up with writing those books as well. Okay, so I'm not sure some of these are actually related to, is releasing a box set first ever a good idea? Have you released a box set trilogy and then rapid release the standalone books at a later date? You know, this is a fantastic question and incredibly relevant right now for us. We don't call them box sets, we call them mega books. Boxed set kind of presumes that you have books that you boxed up and are selling as a set. We at LMBPN have been testing what we call mega books, which is 360,000 plus word books put together as one book and released first. Then breaking them apart, and there's a lot of benefits. There are a lot of theoretical benefits for doing this. There are a huge amount of challenges with doing this as well. And so the answer to the question is occasionally it makes great sense, and it can completely foobar your production schedule because it takes 3 times as long to get these books done. If you're going to do a release strategy anyway, now recognize that people are still waiting book 2 for this, and book 2, of course, is now another 180,000 words. So tactically, you have to understand that although the strategy of what you're trying to do is somewhat straightforward, tactically it's very hard to implement. And even if you're a company as, quote, large as LMBPN, you can screw yourself because not having enough book 1s, new series, provide challenges. And we are at a point, we had just arrived at this point, where we have a lot of massive mega books series that are slowing down and we're wrapping up. But because they're so large, we actually don't have a lot of book 1s coming out. And that is a gotcha from a publishing perspective. So Craig, can you answer this question? You look like you're ready to come back and do it again.
Yeah, internet's diving in and out. It's ugly. Is that this question?
No, actually, it's the previous one that we couldn't hear you, which was related to your opinion on how long to wait for box sets or omnibuses or whatever after the last book. Why not would you do it right away once you release the first book? And I said you have a different opinion on how you prefer to do them.
trying to give the readers who are buying your books the opportunity to discover that newest book is there, and then buy out the series, give you an opportunity to advertise that first book and get people to read through the whole way. It gives you clean data on read through as well. Once people start reading, and you can see, oh, hey, I got 99%, 9%, 6%, 90%, and okay, and that's so you get being data. If you reader, the box it steals that data.
You're not trying to load your 90 megabyte file, are you?
No, I've got paused. Just things lock against.
He loses. I heard that.
Yeah, so the just I wait and try to
just to ask to make sure, because Craig is the master of this particular release. Is everybody else hearing him choppy, or is it just me? Yep, he left. Yep, bad audio. Okay, wise words as always. Questions for a new writer. Would you recommend having the first 3 series ready for quick release or release one at a time as you go? That's somewhat dependent, Facebook user, on how quick you write. I was able to write books 2 and 3 in my series in a matter of less than 2 weeks per book. So I released them as I went. It just so happened that because I was a fast writer, and my and the way that I did it allowed me to release quickly. You're back again.
I hope so. I hope that I'm back for a while this time. So the box, it's just a different marketing opportunity. You sell the individual books, let them run their course, build up some social proof, then release whether it's I wouldn't do it right away, because you've got to let your natural the books and the read through run their course. That my perspective. It's all probably if you do it too fast, because I did that with my first series, Free Trader. Like right away after I released the 3rd book, I released a box set, and I think I convoluted my advertising and marketing campaigns, especially since I didn't have that 4th book out yet. So I didn't have any place to send those readers after they read the 3rd book, except saying, hey, the box set is out. It's not optimal marketing. You want to give people something else. And if you're going to do subsets, like I did 9, 3 trilogies, right? Well, if you're going to do a subset of those first 3, then you want to send them someplace else if they want to get that reader high. So whether it's the 4th book or the 2nd trilogy, just make sure you have your back matter appropriately to let your readers easily make it easy on them, make the right thing easy. And this was a leadership coaching technique that we used back in before I became a writer, was make the right thing easy. Don't punish people in any way. Don't make them work too hard to do the right thing. So just, hey, here's the end. Here's the series page. If you're reading single books, we can add to it. That's an easy thing, because then you don't have to keep going back and updating it. Check the series page to see if there's any new books out, or go to book 4 after a trilogy. Hey, book 4 is out, and then you just update that back matter later, and there you go.
So something else also, if you do pre-orders, if you consider pre-orders for your next book, if you do that, you can now get the ASIN, you can get the link, you can put it in the previous, the book that you're releasing, so that you have something that automatically. But one of the things that also happens when you do this, especially if you give it enough notice, is then Amazon automatically will, when they finish your book, Amazon will put up, here's book 2. But you have to have the pre-order out for that book in order for Amazon to do that. So just be aware of that, what's going on. And as for with a book out already that you hate and you wish you never wrote, yank it. Pull it. If you think that it's a book that's still making you money, pull it and then put it under a pseudonym, or a pen name or something, and put it back out if you're concerned about the money part of it, but pull it. There's no good reason to be angsty about something that goes out, for the rest, or fix it. Fix it and put it back out.
Yeah. Gee, there's a book with my name on it that I hate. All right, you can control that. Unpublished. Next book. Have a nice day. Yeah, that sounds like an easy one. The Somebody asked about mega books. Have you broken one of yours up yet and tried that?
We have broken one up, but it's been on the wide side. As people are probably aware, LMVPN is testing wide and figuring out how to make this work. We're seeing some success. We are building a white paper to share to 20 books, or about November 11. Well, trying to remember what the first date of 20 books is. So one of the gotchas that we happened with the mega books is that they got the licensing, the audio licenses got bought. And all of a sudden we didn't, when we were starting to break them apart, the question was, oh crap, now what do we do? Because the audio books are basically the little box sets, right? These trilogy box sets. Do we potentially screw our partner if we break them apart, or do we not? So we're still in the throes of that situation. We have one series that we haven't sold the audio licensing yet, and we will be starting breaking that apart. I think we need covers, so probably September, October timeframe. So we'll have some ability to test that. But that particular series, which is the Pivot series, is it's one of those series that I desired to have written. I personally have an annoyance, a gripe, if you will, with the cost of medical, and have noticed that my mom passed away last November, and during that time, it just happened to be on my mind that there were a lot of costs to be in ICU, a lot of costs per day. So if a person had even $250,000 worth of insurance, seems like a lot, ICU could conceivably eat that up in a matter of like 55 days, not, barely 2 months, and then what, pull the plug? The family goes under for the rest of their lives? What's the choices here? And so because it was on my heart to write it, we wrote something that had to do with that, but it is very genre fluid. It's part Portal of Fantasy where you're in a lit, when you're in a computer, it's not very lit RPG whatsoever. So it doesn't hit the lit RPG crunchy crowd. It doesn't hit the medical thriller, because now you're putting, these people going into a computer game that has trolls and elves and all sorts of shit. So that one is a weird one. And, just because we break it up doesn't mean anything good's going to happen, because we don't know how to market it yet. We've confused ourselves.
Yeah. And I haven't published a combined series yet. One of my concerns always is, will that first book resonate? And now after enough books, I realize, hey, this first book's going to be just fine. However, as a new writer, I saw somebody ask that question earlier. Hey, do you wait and write 3 books? I don't wait on that on those first 3 books. That first book, you need to know that the readers are going to like it. Otherwise, you waste all this time writing books 2 and 3, and you're not going to be able to, and you can't sell book 1. So now you have 3 books that aren't selling. I mean, that's soul crushing. So you find out that book 1 is going to sell by canvassing strangers, and this is the hard part. Now you're marketing before you're even publishing, but you're finding readers. You find groups where they might have readers willing to read material, and throw it out there. It's got to be genre aligned. Don't get science fiction readers to read your contemporary romance. So genre aligned, and then get their feedback of, yes, I would keep reading this, or yes, I liked it, or this turned me off. I had to put it down after the first chapter. I've had that a couple times where the readers came back and said, I just didn't keep reading. It didn't hold my interest. And then I either rewrote it or moved on. And now that's rare, because rewriting it's easy. Moving on and leaving something you wrote and just dumping it, that's real hard. Because, hey, I already invested this time. But make sure you invest your time wisely in writing those books 2 and 3. If you know book 1 is going to sell because you've gotten feedback from strangers in your genre that, yes, I this well enough that I would read the next book, then that's what moving forward looks like. So I wouldn't wait to write the whole book. I would actually I run the first 3,000, 10,000, and halfway point words past my beta readers on a new series.
Yeah, it's really tough. All of those questions are actually really tough. I'm going to go back through some of these. The mega books, what's works best for time to leave between mega books? So there's what is best, and then there's what are you going to be able to accomplish. 90 days is probably the farthest outside. I mean, when we had success with the first mega book, it took us a little bit by surprise. The first 14 to 28 days, it was pretty kind of questionable what was going to happen, and then it took off. And because they're so long, we had already moved to another shorter series, and we had to stop that series and go back and start book 2. It was a complete cluster of fluck of the biggest order. And so I don't worry, Craig. I caught that expletive that you said. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah, the one word that comes through clearly.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
But so now we've done 90 day, we've done 120 day. 120 days so far has been our longest. We did the pre-order. We have a very solid pre-order, but we're also spending an exorbitant amount of money back on book 1, because we know what I want is to have people piled up buying book 4, waiting for book 4. So that when book 4 releases and I get that 2-day big chunk of money from the pre-orders, I can then go ahead and pay all of the expenses, because we've built 3 books. You know, that's a lot of editing cost up front. That's a lot of time. We become much more of a financing company at that point. You're starting to have to worry about interest rates. And so, you know, as an individual author doing it, you have to consider your time, time and effort that's going on to do this. If you write quickly, God bless you, that allows you some more tactical opportunities than, say, someone who writes slow. All done.
There we are. There we are. So series. Series can be very lucrative from a business perspective, and that's writing series. There's 2 different reasons why you write. And that's at first marketing. It makes marketing easier. It makes it gives you the opportunity for more product, because you write 6 books. You can have 6 individual books plus 2 trilogies, plus then a ways down the road you do the complete box set. So 6 books, you have 9 products, and that's outside of audiobook or paperback or anything like that. So 9 separate products to market and sell. And that opportunity you also get with your book 1. You can calculate your read through, which then gives you the opportunity to look at the data to see what's your fan embrace, fan acceptance, and then you can canvas those fans what you like about this series, and then write another series that kind of looks like it, that hits what the fans like about your stuff. And then from an artistic perspective, it allows you growth of your world, so a world that you created that you can add to, as opposed to keep creating new worlds and new environments for your characters. And we're talking urban fantasy, even mysteries. You're creating this environment and these characters, but not having to create those from scratch actually reduces the amount of time you need to get in the head to write that next story. So all kinds of good things for writing series. Now, a lot of people make a lot of money on standalones. Just marketing is a bigger challenge. You got to find those readers. You can make yourself the brand if you write standalones, but you still have that challenge of people have to get into this new book in a whole different way than they get into a series. It's like, man, I can't wait to see what Bethany Ann is up to this week. So
yeah,
that's where we are.
Hey, I'd like to mention Justin's comment where he says, I've seen a lot of my elderly clients have their life savings drained by end-of-life treatment. And I've made this comment multiple times that I'm very cynical, incredibly cynical. So the question is that actually a methodology of wealth distribution? Moving it from people who are moving on in life and just moving it over to the companies and everything else? Just saying.
It's something. That's a way, all of it. And then nursing homes, if you have the means, they'll charge you, and if you don't have the means, you're still there. So it's a way. It's like a nursing home tax. If you get put in a nursing home and you have money, and a lot of older people will start transferring their wealth via gift, whatever the maximum gift tax is. 13,000 per last time I looked. So their kids, they just give each of the kids 13 grand each year, because then it's not taxed as income for the kids because it's a gift that falls under. But then you have to outlive that by 3 years. Otherwise, whoever the agency is can go back and say, this is your money. You're trying to give it away. So the nursing home couldn't get it. These are the tricks and trials of being a tax lawyer. Is now, hey, that 26 grand you gave your kids, well, we got to count that, and you owe that to the nursing home. And then your kids are like, shit, I already spent the money. God damn, mom and dad taking a loan from me. What the hell? I mean, yeah, they should be the bank of mom and dad. But these just extra issues. Nobody get on politics. We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, sorry. It's just it fit my issue with the pivot because it upset me so much. I really think that we have the opportunity to do better with ICU, and there are so many emotions that are involved in this that, I'd love to think that all of my fellow men and women have great attitudes toward this, but I don't. I'm a realist.
No, and it's different for every person's situation. Very few people are going to have a great experience with an ICU that ends with with the patient not surviving. And that's just a tragedy and a trial for the family in multiple ways. And then getting bills. I remember getting bills from my father-in-law when he passed away. That sucked. It's like, oh, hey, here's your ICU bill. It's like, holy shit, $1,700. Have a nice day. Just out of the blue. Oh, by the way, grieving widow. Here's a bill. I mean, it's a tough part, and it's part of what you learn that in this world, nothing can be had for free. So your book, write
except 20 books of 50K.
Oh man, free
20 books of 50K.
Day long.
Yes.
As you for your internet.
Yeah, well, if you don't hear anything, it's.
Oh, then you get my internet.
No, it's been you gave probably 9 to 12 different topics related to series. We have this. I don't know that we talked about 3 of them that you had listed. It's
just series can be very lucrative. Let's leave it at that. Series can be very lucrative, and I think it also is easier to write in a series than a standalone. A standalone, you have to build everything from scratch, but a series, you can make some presumptions, even if you have all the books in that series as a standalone, like Agatha Christie and the Poirot, or Arthur Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes. I mean, it helps to read those in order, but still, they should stand alone. And that's a entry points. You want people to enter into your series and into your universe, reading your shit.
All right. I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you. If you have questions lined up, we can certainly, just reach out and let us know that we can do an answer session if you'd like. So, hey, at some level, we're not sure what we've spoken about in the last 4 or 5 years, what people are still interested in, what people need to know about. So, let us know so that it's not just Craig and I talking about whatever Craig is doing.
Random stuff. Me. Klingons. Oh, yeah. And Lawrence had to go because he's running the Klingon Institute.
Yes.
One of the instructors. Lawrence is one of the guys when it comes to the Klingon language, and that's great that he's on board. And an indie now. All right, everybody, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Stop.